This is episode 1 of Joe Gets Flexy. So, basically, I've been dealing with a back issue for about a month now. Let's give you the full story. So I've chronically had really tight uh, hips and a lower back. I'm trying to see if this video is straight up and down. So yeah, I've chronically had a really tight lower back and hips, and about a month ago, it was coming up on Mother's Day. It's like the Friday before that, and I decided to make a surprise trip up to see my mom. And to that, she's like 7 hours away, so it was a long car ride. And car rides never help my hip tightness. Always makes me really stiff. Um, and so made the 7 hour trip up, 7 hour trip back, and so it was just kind of like really tight going into the week. And then that the week we got back, my wife and I had we joined a pickleball league. We joined it like a couple months before, so we were just gonna go to the first game. Um, go to it, play, everything seems to be fine, and then the next morning I wake up and I'm like, I think I tweaked my back or something. And it was just like tight. It wasn't anything too crazy, but it was just like painful. And I was like, I knew I'd recognize the symptoms. I was like, all right, this is stiff. This is probably gonna take a couple weeks to heal. Um, so fast forward, we still go pickleball the next week, um, and basically make it a little bit worse. So I'm like, all right, we're probably gonna have to skip the following week. So we did that. But then we had a planned trip with some friends to go to like this lake house. So we went there, and the lake house had like some paddle boards and kayaks and things like that. And so I went out on a paddleboard, like, lost my balance, fell off that. I don't exactly know when I injured myself more, but I did a bunch of things that could have done it. We got in some kayaks. This is Widget's my cat. Um, we had some kayaks and we went out to the middle of the lake, jumped off of them, and like in my attempt to get back into the kayak, I like filled it with water. So I had to like drag it through. Widgie, hey, had to drag it through the lake all the way back to the dock. So I wasn't taking it easy really. And the next morning is when I really started feeling it in my lower back, to the point where I was really slow to stand up straight. Um, and like around like L3 in my back, it was just like sharp, kind of sharp pain. Um, I think this is when I started getting like sciatica symptoms, which I've never had before. And they were going down my right leg, so every time I would go to take like a step, I'd feel this shooting pain going down my right leg, starting in my glute. If I step too far forward or like reach my leg too far back, it would just be like almost unbearable. Um, so I think at that point, I went to where did I go? I went to urgent care, just because like I really can't walk and it's really annoying. So I went to urgent care, had an X-ray taken, and they said that I had disc degeneration in S1, L5, and L5, L4, like the discs between those two vertebrae. And apparently that is common with like apparently it's common with people who played a lot of sports when they were younger. That's what I was told. Who lift a lot of heavy weights, and I guess when I was in high school, I was squatting and doing things probably shouldn't have. I wouldn't go back and do it again. Um, but I played like a lot of football and rugby and just things that probably did put a lot of pressure on my lower back. So anyways, I have the disc degeneration and some osteoarthritis, and they also did X-rays of my hips and said that my hips are pretty like tight and like I guess bone structure wise, like everything's kind of packed in, and I have moderate osteoarthritis in each hip, so it's a double whammy. So, anyways, get that diagnosis, and they referred me to PT. Trying to get the story straight. They referred me to PT, um, and said I should follow up with somebody else, figure out like what I should do about my back and all that. So, a couple days later, I went to a joint and spine place and brought my X-rays there, um, and they seemed to just want to like get me out of there quick. I feel like they were like, "Oh, young guy, back problems." It's not. It didn't seem too important to them. But they just looked at my exams and said that yeah, they also recommend PT. They think this will go away. And so I guess the funny thing, the annoying thing at the time was like, "Oh, do you have any questions?" I started asking questions about like, does this like represent like, or does this seem like a herniated disc, or I guess should I be walking around on this? And basically every question I asked, they're like, "Oh yeah, they'll answer that at PT." Like, all right, I go to PT. So I ended up going to PT. Um, at this point, it was just all on my right leg. So did a lot of just like hamstring stretches, trying to stretch out my hip flexors, doing like the figure four like stretch. Basically things that just try to open up my hips and relieve some of that pressure. I'm trying to think what happened after this. All right, yeah, this is where it gets stupid. So then my right leg pain starts going away. So no more sciatic pain when I'm walking, which is nice. But I start feeling like a little like pinch or like tingle sort of feeling in my like left gluteus medius, like over here, and into my glute, and thought it was weird. But then I guess that weekend, it's like kind of a week after I went to the joint spine place, I had a friend moving into town, so we went over. I told him that my back was hurting, so I wasn't gonna be able to help with like heavy stuff. Um, but there was like a couple small boxes, so I was like, all right, fine, I can probably do this. So I pick up the boxes, and I'm like walking, and I'm realizing like my back is getting like really tired really quick. So stop, but before I stopped, I had done something where I had that box like on my hip, and I was kind of like walking, like pushing it with my hip, and then that's when I felt like numb kind of go down my leg to my foot. I was like, all right, and I didn't like say anything. I mean, my wife was there. I was like, I probably should stop doing this. Um, so we ended up leaving, and then on Monday, I had a PT appointment scheduled for like noon or 1 or something like that. So I was at home and I was just stretching, kind of getting ready because I usually walk over there. And I guess in my head, I was like kind of starting to wonder if I was actually going to be able to make the entire walk. It's like a 10-minute walk, because my leg was like getting kind of tired quickly. Um, Doing a hamstring stretch, and then I just feel I was like stretching my left hamstring, and I feel it just like something like pull or something like kind of just pain, like just go up through my hamstring, my glute, and I kind of like fell over on the ground, like right here, like right next to me, um, and I'm like just thinking in my head, I'm like, oh god, like that actually did I just do something worse, or what's going on? And I tried to like walk there. I was like trying to think like, oh, maybe this is nothing. I didn't do anything. I go outside, start walking. I get basically to the corner of the building where it meets the road. Um, and I realized, like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do this. So I Ubered to PT. Get there, and he's like, "Oh, how you doing?" And I was like, "Yeah, not actually really good. I feel like I just messed something up worse in my left hip." And so maybe there's the way the conversation went. Um, I really didn't know what happened, so he kind of took it as like my left hip has been feeling tight. So he goes in there with the myofascial release mechanism or whatever. He's like digging his elbow like into this hip, and I'm like suffering through it a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I don't think this is helping. It doesn't feel like it's like tight. It feels like something hurts. Um, and also at that point is when I started like really like noticing that when I stood up, I was just really leaning to the right side. Um, like trying to like I don't know, subconsciously take all the pressure off of this leg. So like even if I try to like straighten my hips up, I'd feel a pinch here, and I couldn't even do it. I had to just like kind of go back to leaning. Um, and so now, yeah, now pain is all in the left leg. Right leg's fine. Um, and I guess I'm trying to think how many days. I think it actually was the same day. I like texted my wife and I was like, I think I just hurt myself worse. I was like, I can't really even walk now. So she came home early, went to the ER, got another X-ray done, and um, CT scans. And again, I guess there's nothing like they didn't give me a straight diagnosis from those things. Maybe they can't. I don't know exactly what you can tell from these types of scans. But again, they just said they noticed the disc degeneration, um, and they did another X-ray of my hips and said, I might have hip impingement, but that they applied that to both sides. So they said both hips look like they could have the hip impingement. Now I don't feel it in my right side. I feel it on my left, and it doesn't feel like it's like in my hip socket. It feels like it's like in my glute. Um, and so they gave me pain meds, gave me a referral to a neurosurgeon and an orthopedic surgeon. And I guess in my head, I was like, when I saw the title surgeon, I was like, I don't want to go get surgery right now. Which maybe in hindsight, I should have just like went to these people and had them tell me what to do. Um, yeah, another like week goes by, things are not getting better. I went to like a chiropractor, and he says that there's like a really tight muscle. There's something going on in the left lower back, and that's kind of the source of all this. Um, and then we're getting close to like the current time. So over the weekend, so maybe two days ago, set up an appointment at an orthopedic doctor. Went there, and he referred me to get an MRI. And at that point, like my pain was even like just worse, like really bad, like a constant ache, can't get away from it. Like sitting down, standing up, laying down, everything's bad. And like also for the last 4 or 5 days prior to this, like sleeping was just a nightmare. Like, trying to get into a comfortable position, like one position on the couch I can get in where if I'm leaning and taking pressure off my leg, it was okay. So I was in rough shape. Um, and so go there, yeah, in rough shape. Like having a hard time, like even standing at the desk, like waiting for them to like give me the paperwork, and then inside the room waiting to get seen. I'm like I can't like lay down on the bed or sit on the bed. I'm like kind of standing, like hunched over to the side. So he comes in, and after reviewing all of my CT scan, X-ray, and all this, and my symptoms, his idea or his diagnosis is that this is a pinched nerve or lumbar radiculopathy. Um, and apparently, when you have this pinched nerve, all the muscles that it innervates, um, you can experience pain there. So, like, if there's a pinched nerve on my left side and it's radiating through my glute, I'm just gonna feel all the pain here. He said it's like, because I asked him if there was a chance that this could be like a glute injury or something. Like when I was stretching my hamstring, did I like pull something over here? And he said that the chances of that are very, very small. And just for my age group, it's like almost impossible. He didn't say impossible, but he said it's like super unlikely. He said the analogy is like having a light bulb out. That would be like a muscle injury versus having a problem with your electricity. And so for me, because of this potential like stenosis or pinched nerve, you know, uh, inflammation in my spine that's causing this pressure. It's causing this pain and the loss of the electricity in my group. So referred me to MRI and then gave me some pain meds, which was definitely a lifesaver for I guess the last couple of days. Like actually been able to sleep. Just take one like right before I'm going to go to bed so I can actually get comfortable. Um, and then I went to the MRI this morning, and oh my god, it was a nightmare. Because the thing is, I cannot. It's going crazy. The thing is, I cannot like lay on my back. Like I can't lay flat on my back because it just puts pressure on this point and causes like my hip to feel like it's cramping up. Um, but when you go to MRI for your lumbar spine, you have to lay on your back. And this scan I'm going for is apparently going to take like 15 minutes. They have to do all these different images. So I get there this morning. It's like we got there at 6:30, had the scan at 7. Um, so I get there already like in a little bit rough shape. Like it's kind of I haven't taken any pain meds this morning. Note to anyone else who's doing this in the future: if you have to go get an MRI and it's difficult to lay on your back, take your pain meds before you go to the MRI. So, anyways, I didn't take pain meds this morning, and I didn't bring them with me. Um, so I get there and I have to change my pants, get into the MRI machine, and I'm telling them, I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I can't really easily lay on my back without having a lot of pain. So he's like, all right, what if we put something under your legs to like lift them up? Like, all right, I can try that. Um, so he brings out like this cushion, puts it under my knees, and I'm laying back. All right, we're gonna start the first scan. So I didn't realize like they break it up into a bunch of different scans, and like this scan's minute and 20 seconds. This one's just under 2 minutes. This one's 2 minutes. This one's 3 minutes. But altogether, it's supposed to add up to like 15 minutes. So I get in there for the first like 2 minute scan. And I'm like laying on my back, and my leg just feels like it's like cramping up in my hip. And I didn't realize that you have to be super, super still for MRIs. So I'm like kind of trying to shift my weight around. I'm trying to like put pressure on my calves to like lift each side of my hips off the thing. I'm trying to like use this foot to like push against the other foot to like give me some sort of relief. Anyways, it's just like this pain for like 3 minutes. I'm like trying to get comfortable, and then the machine stops, and then I hear him over the speaker, and he's like, you're gonna have to stop moving. That first one is no good because you're fidgeting around. And I'm like, oh great. So I'm like, can I like come out and like stretch my leg? And so he pulls me out, and he asks if I have any pain meds. I'm like, no, I don't. And so there's like this look between us both, like, am I gonna be able to do this or not? And I guess the other like limitation and like time restriction on this is that I'm leaving tonight to go to California at like 6, so I'm gonna be gone like this whole week. So like in my head, I'm like, if I can't do this right now, like I can't like go home, come back tomorrow with my pain meds and try to do this again. So we had this shared moment of like he's like, you have your pain meds? I'm like, no. He's like, all right, well, what if we like lift your legs up more? All right, we can try that. And I had him like, I don't think that's gonna be the full relief. But anyways, he put another cushion on my knees, so my knees are kind of almost at a 90-degree angle. He's like, all right, what if I also strap your legs down? Help him. In my head, I was trying to figure out how that's gonna help me. Like I'm just gonna be stuck in a more painful position. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I'm like, could you also like strap my hips down? I feel like that's where I'm like doing the most motion. He's like, oh, we can't do anything in this area because that's where the machine needs to see. So we do that, puts me back in, and he's like, all right, we're gonna have to redo that first one, and then we got like 15 more minutes worth of stuff to do. So I'm like, All right. So then basically I go into like super zen mode. I say that, but it was a long road to get there. I was like going through the first thing, and I'm trying to keep my spine super still, and I'm trying to like put all of my weight on this right leg to kind of keep the pressure off my left leg, and this leg starts cramping up, and I'm like, oh no, and then I'm trying to like just breathe to like relieve the cramp, which apparently that worked. Um, and then I end up just putting all the pressure on this side. Sorry, Widget is a super skittish cat. And she loves attention, but like you can never not surprise her. If she gets out in front of you and I touch her, she jumps. Um, so, anyways, I'm trying to do all these strategies to get through get through these exams, and one's going by. He's like, all right, we got another set of two that are each just under 2 minutes. Start doing it, and I'm like trying to just pivot my hips up a little bit so I could get some relief. And I'm just breathing, I'm counting, I'm doing all the tricks. And by the end, I was like kind of numb to the pain, like kind of just like got over it. Just like I was just counting, just like all right, just get me through this. Um, and so yeah, it pulls me out, I'm like sweating. I'm like that was rough. Definitely takes over in my head the position of dentist. People don't like going to the dentist. If you have a back problem, and you have to go for an MRI. I'll be warned. It's rough. So now I'm waiting on the results of the MRI, um, and then mentally preparing to fly a 5-hour trip to California tonight, and I'm going to be at a conference for the next 3 days. So I've kind of like spaced out my pain meds, which can get me through the flight, hopefully get me through each day of the conference. Hope I'll just be sitting around a lot. Yeah, so that's it. And then the reason I want to start this series, this channel, is that I have never given my back or hips or flexibility in general the care it deserves. Always do a lot of like weightlifting and running, kind of like simple exercises. Just like I'm gonna go run 7 miles, so do that. Or I'll go to the gym, or just like lift. But I never really focus on mobility or flexibility or things like that. And then I go and sit all day because I have a desk job. Just do software developer. I have standing desks, but 80% of the time I end up just sitting down. So yeah, now my goal is to at least stretch for an hour a day. I feel like an hour is a cheap price to pay to not ever be in this position again, because easily past month has been probably one of the most miserable of my life. With sleeping, with not being able to move around, not be able to go, basically just do anything, go to like without having to figure out how am I gonna stand in line for this long, or how am I gonna be able to like make it this far. I guess another story quick. I took an Uber to my chiropractor last week, and then again it's like 10 minutes away. Everything's like pretty close, and so I was gonna walk back. I don't know why I thought I was gonna walk back, but started walking back, taking like 20 steps, kind of taking a break, 20 steps, sitting down, and then I get like not even a quarter of the way back, and realize like, yeah, this is not gonna happen. So I end up like there's like ice cream place close by, and my phone is about to die, so I quick texted my wife, and I was like, all right, on your way home from work, just pick me up from the spot. Um, so yeah, that's like all these little things that are just super annoying. Not to mention the pain and discomfort of it all. So now I'm becoming a yogi. Just doing a lot of stretches right now that are just like very light on my back and hips. Surprisingly, sitting on the floor and doing stretches is like more comfortable than most other positions I can get in. Like if I was like laying on the couch, that's it's uncomfortable pretty quick. Try to like do the trick of putting a pillow between your knees and stuff, but the way my back is right now, it's like I have to be in this very weird position where I'm like on my side, but my one hip is kind of like leaning back, and so I feel like I'm also just like sleeping in this position that is reinforcing whatever's going on. But the key to recovery, keeping a positive mindset. So that's what I'm gonna do. Oh, I'm telling you, MRIs. Never been, never been so traumatized by a medical procedure. And what you're seeing here is probably about close to the max of what my hips can do. A good starting point. And I can force them out further, but like this set of muscles, tendons, always been. I just need to change this. Good news is, a lot of back injuries like this, or so I've read, resolve themselves within 6 to 8 weeks. Um, and so my guess so far, based on symptoms and general feelings and scan results, that I have some sort of like herniated or bulged disc, and that's pushing on nerve. Um, and yeah, herniated discs normally will kind of like repair themselves, or like the herniated part will get reabsorbed in your body. I don't know all the technicalities behind it, but it will get resolved. Um, so that's what I'm hoping this is. I'm hoping it's something I can just address with PT. I have my laptop up here. I'm just waiting on like the results of this MRI. So it's actually pretty intense moment. They told me I will know by the end of today because the image was marked as stat, so the radiologist should be looking at it. But it's life. And I'm thinking too that maybe it's a good thing it got to this point. Like I just didn't just resolve this after the first pickleball game and go back to living my life. Because I think if I did that, I probably would not. I would not be so afraid of not stretching in the future, not improving my mobility. Like I feel like now if I don't do this, my future is just going to be full of doctor trips and misery. So we're gonna do some stretches. And do some cat cow. Oh, you're seeing the white cap. That's Katie. Two cats, Katie and Widget. My cat is a lot better than my cow because extension like this kind of pinches that spot. I'm gonna do one of these and then all right. Be back at it tomorrow.